Hey everybody, it's Jeremy, and welcome to another episode of Sipping with Jeremy. And today we are ready to drink with some RTDs from Dashfire. RTDs, or ready to drink cocktails, have become a really big category, I would say, in the last, especially the last 3 years. Over COVID, they took a huge jump. And there's really two categories inside of RTDs, in my opinion. You have your fun, easy to drink ones, you have your tequila and sodas, your vodka sodas, your flavored vodkas and sodas, your palomas in a can, and those are all super fun, really refreshing drinks. Those are you take them to the beach, have a good time, enjoy them throughout the day. And then there are those more of what I would call a mature RTD, which is what Dashfire would fall into, where these are cocktails that are made to be more sipped on. These are definitely cocktails that you could go to a craft bar and find, and honestly, to me, the flavor profiles is very spot on for what you would get in your typical craft bar. So it's just really cool. So Dashfire is a husband and wife company. Lee and Don opened the business in 2013, and they originally started by just making bitters. They expanded to coffee, spirits, and then the RTDs as well. And they've been doing really well for us at the store since we brought them in. I'd say in 2021 when I started back at the store. And yeah, the main reason why I really enjoy them, as I was mentioning before, is that when these craft cocktails are done right in can, they taste just as good as you can get at a craft bar. And Lee was really cool. So during 2021, we actually did a Zoom tasting with Lee. Make sure to put the link below for everybody so you can check that out too. But just the care and the work that Lee and his wife Dawn put into making these cocktails was really impressive to me. He told a story about with the old-fashioned can, how it took him over a year to figure out the exact recipe. Because they're not just taking, their standard bitters or standard spirits and making them. They're picking out specific whiskeys for their old-fashioned. They're picking out a specific rye, for their Manhattan. And they're picking out specific vodka for the White Russian. Like I said, it took over a year and a half for Lee to find the perfect recipe for the old-fashioned. And so that just shows how much, work and effort him and Don both put into making these cocktails. And another really cool thing about Lee is that he is a bit of a historian as well. Again, I'll put the link below so you guys can check out the video. But there's some really cool stories from Lee in that Zoom event we did in 2021. But yes, as I said, we are ready to drink today with Dashfire, and we are going to be trying 3 canned cocktails from them. Their White Russian, their Manhattan, and the Old Fashioned. And let's go ahead and get started with the White Russian. So one thing of note that I really do like about Dashfire as well is that on each of their cans, they do give you instructions of, what to garnish it with, what kind of glass to put it in, and then, how to serve it as well. So with the White Russian, they suggest a garnish with star anise pod, which unfortunately I do not have. They suggest a lowball glass, which I do have, and then pour a cocktail over large clear ice and glass and garnish. So I can do most of that. I got the clear glass with the large ice, and then we have the can as well. I always like to give them a little shake. Now, I do like to keep my Dashfires in the fridge, just so I always have them cold. But again, that's why you also have the ice, is if you don't have them cold, you can still pop these and have them ready to go, ready to drink. And then also with the Dashfire cans, they give you the ingredients that are in here too. So this, number 1, White Russian, is made with vodka, cream, and chai bitters. Let's give it a try. That's a tasty White Russian. So you get that really nice creaminess up front. The chai definitely adds a nice kind of spice characteristic, but doesn't overpower anything by any means. You still get this nice kind of creaminess, that nice kind of spice level. There's a little bit of a cocoa kind of note, softer kind of, not Kahlua kind of richness, but there's a richness there that kind of reminds you of Kahlua. But again, that chai just takes it to a completely different level than your standard, White Russian. Is it something that the dude would drink? Probably. I mean, especially if we can get it in a can like this, why wouldn't he? I know he was a big fan of the Kahlua aspect of it, but this is a White Russian to go that I think a lot of people would enjoy. And nice and creamy. That spice really cuts through that creamy richness too. So the chai works really well with that in this world. And yeah, just a really nice drink. There's also a little bit of an orange zest, kind of softer citrus coming out of it too. And Lee is a mastermind with what he does in these canned cocktails. And this White Russian is just a really good example of that. Alright, so let's now move on to the Old Fashioned. So with the Dashfire Old Fashioned can, we are getting bourbon, whiskey, and bitters. So pretty straightforward there. Like I said, this was the one that Lee took over a year to figure out the right recipe, right measurements of what bourbon, what bitters to use and everything. This is another one where they suggest a low ball glass, large ice. Here we go. They would garnish with orange zest. I am out of that. I am sorry. Old Fashioned. Now, I will say that, as I have mentioned, that these are nice sipping cocktails. These are something that you can pour over, pour in a glass over a nice ice cube and sip for a while. I've also taken the old-fashioned cans to a couple games before, small tailgate in the parking lot. Since they are 3-ounce cans, they are pretty easy to put down, so that's nice about them too. So, again, you can sip them, enjoy them on their own, at home, relaxing. Or if you want to have a nice cocktail before going in to pay $19 or $20 for a beer, you can have a couple before that too. But old-fashioned, here we go. So with old fashions, a lot of what you're working with is the bourbon and the bitters that you use in there. I mean, simple syrup. It's they're not going to add a lot of flavor. But depending on what whiskey you use, what bourbon you use, and depending on what kind of bitters you use, it's really going to change your old fashioned. And this just has such a elegance to it and a layering that is super nice. That bourbon gives you a little bit of sweetness. You get a little bit of that peanuts from it. Then the bitters they use bring some big spice notes, some clove, getting a lot of like softer anise flavors in there too, and then a really nice orange zest, like more of kind of like the orange rind. Adds a little bitterness, a little bit of cinnamon too. So there's this really nice expressiveness from the bitters that they add to this easy drinking bourbon too. So just a super easy drinking old fashioned. Yeah, like cinnamon or kind of barky kind of bitterness to it. Yeah, this is just it's just a sipper. I mean, this is one of my favorite ones. Usually if I have a Dashfire in my fridge, it is the old fashioned, since that's my favorite of the 3 that we carry. But yeah, I mean, so it's no surprise that I like this, but it's just really well done. I like it a whole lot. Again, easy to take on the road, easy to enjoy at home. What can't you like about them? All right, and now let's go ahead and try the Manhattan. So the Dashfire Manhattan is made with rye whiskey, sherry, and bitters. The instructions on the back say garnish with a cherry cocktail, use a chilled coupe glass, and stir cocktail on ice to chill, strain into chilled glass. So I don't have a coupe glass, but I do have a chilled glass here. We have a mixer here. So we're going to go ahead and put our ice in, add the Dashfire Manhattan. And like I said, I have shaken these in the past, but since we are going to be stirring this one, no need to shake too. It's either shaken or stirred. James Bond was never that fancy to go with both, so why do it for Manhattan? So give us a couple stirs. Go ahead and strain that. Cherry. Boop. So now we have Dashfire Manhattan. Yeah, I mean, the rye is still there. You definitely still get that spice from the rye. But yeah, that more like cooked kind of fruit that you get from a sherry definitely comes through. That toasty nuttiness comes through too. Just actually elevates it a little bit more. I usually don't use sherry as a substitute for sweet vermouth, but I might start doing it more because of the profile they made for this Manhattan. I can see that working for a lot of different cocktails as well. But yeah, just a really well done one. This one again has not sweet, but it has a little bit more of a sweeter kind of characteristic to it, kind of more like dark figs, cacao kind of things, profiles in there that you typically don't get in Manhattan. So that's really nice too. You sometimes get that dark kind of cooked cherry note, but yeah, just a little bit more of those darker fruit kind of characteristics, which is, yeah, again, super easy, really fun, and great to taste. Alright everybody, that's going to wrap up this episode of Sipping with Jeremy. Thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned a little something about Dashfire. One thing I did forget to mention earlier is that, these cans are 3 ounces in size and they are $5.99 a can. And a lot of people were like, oh, $5.99 for this little can, what am I getting? So first, as you heard me talk about while I was tasting all 3 of these, the flavor profile of them, very unique, very craft forward. So think about going to your craft bar and ordering a drink like this. You're paying at least like $10, I'd say, at the minimum, like somewhere between $9 and $15 for an old fashioned or a Manhattan or like a classy White Russian. And you're getting about, I'd say, about especially if you're talking about a Manhattan or old fashioned, you're getting about 3 ounces of spirit, and so you're paying $10 to $15 for 3 ounces of spirit out at a bar, or you could pay $6 for a can, $6 and change for a can that is also at 38% ABV. So you're actually getting a full cocktail here. As I was talking about earlier, how there's the two categories of RTDs, where you have your light, like party ones, like your vodka sodas, your tequila sodas, which get to about 5 to 8% alcohol. And then you have like these serious craft ones, which again, you're in your 30% alcohol range. You're in a true cocktail range here. So, when you come in and look at a canned cocktail that's $5.99 at this size, you're like, well, what am I getting? That's what you're getting. You're getting a real craft cocktail for that price. $6 a can versus, $15 at a bar. So you're actually kind of making out ahead on these. Hope you all really enjoyed learning about Dashfire. Below I will have links to these cans that are available in store. We do have 4-packs of the old fashioned, so if you want to get more, it's $19.99 plus tax with that. So again, you're kind of saving a little bit of money by getting the 4-pack. So if you do like the old fashioned a lot, just stock up and bulk up a little bit. Vince, thank you for joining us. Hope you all had a good time watching it. Have a great week. We'll catch y'all in a couple weeks. Drink well.